Talk about low-budget flights, no food or movies? I'm out of here. I like running better. Welcome back, YouTube viewers, to another video. Alright, so, about a year ago I did a video ranking every Disney animated movie I'd seen. So you might be wondering, why are you doing it again? Okay, not only have I seen a couple more since then, but my opinions have changed enough to where I think it's worth making an updated version. I really like making ranking videos anyway, and if you've seen my channel views, then yeah, the original is by far my most popular video I've ever done. 26,000 views, so if you watch the original and you're watching this, thank you. Anyway, I also just like doing ranking videos because it lets me cover a lot of topics in one video. So before I begin, I'd like to ask you guys to check out my Letterboxd and Serialize, which I'll link in the description. Now let's do it to it and dive on in. So yeah, not too many Disney movies I've seen. I mean, 18 is still a fair bit, obviously. It's like a third of them. Almost 25%, so actually not that many of them, but there are so many of them. And as you'll see, there's only really one of these movies that I just flat out don't like because I'm not going to go out of my way to watch something that everyone despises or I just think looks bad. Number 18 is a movie that everyone hates. Like, it's going to be really hard to find someone who actually likes Ralph Breaks the Internet. At this point, everyone has gone over why it's so bad. Funnily enough, I actually watched this before the original. I saw it at a friend's house. I enjoyed it then, but a bit of nostalgia doesn't make me like this movie. Of course, getting the most obvious thing out of the way, Ralph and Vanellope's characters have been completely ruined, and they end up doing what the villain of the first movie did. You know, and he's of course never acknowledged, because if they did acknowledge him, then this whole movie would completely fall apart. Felix and Calhoun, who were some really important characters in the original, just are not here. I mean, they are, but almost every single one of their scenes have been cut. They're barely in it at all. They're there for the first act, and then they don't show up again until the end for a quick joke. And that's sad because if you look at some of their subplot that was cut, it generally looks like it could have been pretty funny. Probably would have been the best part of the movie. And yeah, they also cut a ton of scenes with Sonic. I bet some of you were, if you knew that, I bet you were waiting for me to mention that. Here's the thing. Well, that is disappointing. I feel like if I didn't know that, I wouldn't say, oh, I wish they gave Sonic more than a cameo, because that's all he had in the last movie. And considering what this movie is, I feel like even more product placement, to put it in a specific way, probably wouldn't have been good, but it's a video game movie. I mean, you could have included him more, but yeah, it's not a huge deal, honestly. And yes, I do acknowledge the joke that, oh, Sonic is the one to explain to Ralph what the internet is, which, yeah, I gotta admit, that's pretty funny. But back to the actual movie. This is just an ad for a million other franchises. Okay, yeah, there are a couple decent jokes here and there, but that's it. This movie is just awful. Yeah, characters ruined. Plot all over the place. It's not funny. It's just an ad for a ton of other things that Disney owns and all sorts of different websites. It's a really bad movie. It's Ralph Breaks the Internet. I really don't need to explain that. Number 17 is a movie I haven't seen in years, but I still remember quite well, honestly. Pinocchio. I do like this movie. It's a solid 7 out of 10. I do understand why it's such a classic, and I do have a lot of respect for it. I mean, after all, without Jiminy Cricket, we wouldn't have the Locust guy from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Okay, that character was amazing, but jokes aside, I don't really have much to say about Pinocchio. It's just a well-made movie that isn't anything great, but a good one nonetheless. And it's Disney's second movie. It is really impressive, gotta say. Okay, number 16. The Great Mouse Detective. I really wish I liked this movie more than I do. The only reason I even watched it was because so many people were saying that it's one of the most underrated Disney movies and it's really great. It's a John Musker, Ron Clements film. Their first, actually. So I had high expectations. I still enjoyed it, but I think it was a bit overhyped. To start with what I liked, the animation is unsurprisingly really good. I also do agree that the villain, Ratigan, was pretty good. I mean, he's voiced by Vincent Price. He's one of the original celebrity castings in an animated movie, funnily enough. In fact, the original would probably have to be like Phil Harris in The Jungle Book. Anyway, aside from him though, I didn't find really any of the other characters super memorable or interesting. My biggest problem with the movie is that it just felt really long, and that can really bring down a movie for me. And it's pretty short, like an hour 14 minutes including credits, but it just felt more like it was 2 hours. Overall, a good time, but not as good as most people say in my opinion. Sorry to say. Number 15, the last 7 out of 10 on this list. Meet the Robinsons. This movie has some really great stuff in it, but also feels very slow. To start with the good stuff, I like Lewis, the protagonist. His arc is pretty well done. I especially like the scene at the end where he decides not to talk to his mother, and when he travels back in time to the night she left him at the orphanage. I thought that was just a really good moment and a really good way to round out his character arc. I just thought he was entertaining and engaging throughout the whole film. I liked his dynamics with the other characters. But of course, Bowler Hat Guy is the best thing about this movie. He is just really funny, but also kind of tragic. I was surprised at the twist that he was Goop, Lewis' former roommate or whatever. His backstory is genuinely kind of sad, as a lot of people have covered him in recent years. I mean, he insists, the whole "they all hated me" scene. He insists throughout his whole life that everyone hated him after he missed catching a ball at a Little League game when he was a kid. But nobody hated him. He just all insisted they did because they all got a bit mad at him for that. But everything else about this movie is definitely of lower quality. I found the family to be funny, but not super memorable. And yeah, the movie feels slow. And like I mentioned before, that can really bring down something for me. And finally, the animation just isn't that good. I can't get mad at it since this was only Disney's third 3D animated movie. But an age animation isn't even a big issue for me though, so I mean, The Incredibles is a 10 out of 10. That didn't look that much better. But I mean, it's kind of not really fair to compare this to The Incredibles. This is a pretty good movie, and I do understand why it's become a cult classic. That's the whole reason I even watched it. And you know what? I am glad I watched it. I think it's more deserving of being so beloved than The Great Mouse Detective anyway. Number 14, Moana. An 8 out of 10 for me, but just barely. When I say just barely, I mean just barely. There's some stuff I really like, but other things I just can't stand. This is one of Disney's longest movies, and even though it's about an hour 47 minutes, including credits, it just feels like it's over 2 hours. You can tell they really wanted this to feel like some next generation big epic. But the thing is, this movie just barely has any locations, which is I think is the main reason why it feels so slow. So many scenes are just the ocean. You're just watching Moana and Maui on their raft in the ocean, and it gets boring to watch that, even though the water is really well animated. I mean, there's the movie Rope takes place in one room, and it's amazing, but I don't think it's really fair to compare Moana to one of Hitchcock's masterpieces. Anyway, also, I gotta talk about the second act breakup, third act breakup, whatever you want to call it. Honestly, I'm the kind of person who doesn't mind those tropes. I don't mind the liar revealed. I don't mind the second act breakup, which is what I'm talking about right now. But I have to say, I really hated the one here. I also just found Moana's chicken pet, Hey, to just be annoying. And for some reason, he's really important to the plot. Why didn't the pet pig come with her? I thought the pig was a little more funny animal sidekick than the chicken. Yeah, I get why Rocco Tar hated the chicken so much. I also just found Moana to not be that interesting of a character. She wasn't a bad one. I wouldn't exactly call her annoying. I mean, she's not some obnoxious Ray type of character, but I just didn't get that invested in her story. I mean, I still like Moana, don't get me wrong. Visuals are stunning, all the songs are pretty good, especially You're Welcome. Who knew The Rock could sing, right? Overall, Moana is a very good movie, but I wouldn't call it a masterpiece. It's a bit disappointing since this was the final film of John Musker and Ron Clements. I mean, they did end on a high note, 'cause, yeah, I still like this movie. Although it's worth noting this is the only Musker-Clements film they didn't write. Wait, never mind, this movie has Chappelle's Productions in it. I mean Tamatoa, no wonder everyone loved it. Of course, I had to make that joke, guys. Number 13, Tarzan. On rewatch, I didn't like Tarzan quite as much as before. I still like it, still really good, but much like some of these other films, it just feels pretty long, and I'm not a big fan of the comic relief side characters. I mean, they aren't that bad. I laughed at some of their jokes, but they get a lot of screen time and just aren't super entertaining. I do think the villain is pretty good, but he doesn't have a ton of screen time. At least not as a villain, anyway. He's got an insane death scene I would never expect. They especially would never get away with that nowadays, that's for sure. I mean, he got hanged for crying out loud. But the movie is carried by its amazing animation, which just I think this is one of the best looking 2D animated films of all time. The scenes of Tarzan swinging around, like grinding on tree branches like Sonic grinding on rails, just really great stuff. And of course, the relationship between Tarzan and Jane, which I did like. I also found Jane's father to be pretty funny. Honestly, he was probably the funniest character in the whole movie. I thought all the scenes with Tarzan and his mother were really well done. I know many people wish this didn't abandon the musical format like the previous Disney movies, but I don't mind it. I don't think it would have fit, and I do like the Phil Collins songs. They're not great, but I like them. And I'm going to say it, I don't hate Kerchak like everyone else. Even people who really like this film do not like Kerchak. Do I think he could have been better? Yes, I do. But I still don't mind him. I didn't find him super obnoxious. Was this worthy of being the finale of the Disney Renaissance? Maybe not, but I still really liked it. Number 12, The Emperor's New Groove. This movie sounds like something I would love, and while I do really like it, I unfortunately don't love it like I wish I did. An 8 out of 10, but not a 9. And it simply comes down to the fact that I didn't find it super funny. Don't get me wrong, I laughed a lot of times, especially on rewatch, and I never really found it unfunny. It just isn't as funny as I'd expect from a plot this ridiculous. I do love the core characters though. Kuzco goes through a genuinely strong character arc, and I like Pacha a lot. Helps that he's voiced by John Goodman. I just like the dynamic, or dichotomy I suppose, of this spoiled brat guy who's super obnoxious and egotistical compared with just a regular family man. Yzma would probably be a pretty boring villain by herself, but teamed up with Kronk, both of them are just really funny. That's what this movie has that really helps it. The two duos in it are just really good. This is still a really entertaining and fun movie. I'm glad that Disney just for once in their entire studio career decided, let's just make a comedy. Not even a movie with comedic elements, but just a comedy. Too bad they didn't do more. Number 11. Wait a minute, a Goofy movie? That doesn't count. Okay, I know this isn't technically a Disney animation movie, but if I didn't include it here, I would probably never talk about it even once in a video. And I don't know if it qualifies as a Disney animation movie or if it doesn't, because I know most people would say it doesn't, but it wasn't made by Toon Disney, which is their secondary studio. It was still technically made by Disney Animation. I mean, hey, if Moana 2 counts, then this counts. I mean, it got a theatrical release. But it's basically the same as the debate as to whether or not the Sonic Storybook games and Shadow the Hedgehog are part of the mainline series. I would say they are. But what about the actual movie? I really like it. I wasn't sure to expect from it, but I do get the hype, honestly. I only watched it because they did some 30th anniversary documentary on Disney Plus, and I thought, I've heard people like this. If they even went out of their way to make a 30th anniversary documentary, maybe I should watch it. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. The documentary, too. But the animation was great. I mean, because I didn't know this was a theatrical release until after I was done watching it. So I was surprised by, wow, this movie is really impressive animation for a VHS film. I like the songs. I sure couldn't have expected this to be a musical. Definitely some good songs there. It certainly has a genuinely good story. I mean, I get why so many people got so invested in it, especially if you watch the documentary and hear different people's stories about it. I've always enjoyed those animated movies that tackle where the main conflict is between a parent and his child or children. How to Train Your Dragon, The Wild Robot. Both of those are Chris Sanders films, by the way. The Lion King, etc. Which Chris Sanders also worked on. Huh. All the scenes of Goofy and his son Max did have me pretty engaged. Like, I really was invested in their father-son struggles. The scene where they make up at the end is great, or the scene in the car, all the scenes where Goofy is being told by Pete that, your son's just lying to you when he's saying, well, look, Pete, I know maybe Max isn't what you think a son should be, but he loves me. I really did feel that scene. And this movie was almost just a series of gags. But then Jeffrey Katzenberg was recently brought on as head of Disney, well, I guess not even recently by that point, and he said, I want this to be a real movie. Where's the heart? And normally, it annoys me when someone just wants to make a comedy, and then they're told by studio executives, we make a real movie, like the thing that happened to the Marx Brothers the night at the opera. But I gotta say, this was still a good movie, and it was funny. I can tell the filmmakers really put a lot into this, and I'm certainly glad they did, because it definitely paid off. Okay, number 10. This is probably going to be controversial. I think Beauty and the Beast is only an 8 out of 10. I mean, I only watched it the first time recently, so who knows. Maybe it'll get better if I see it again, but I unfortunately just can't call this a masterpiece like everyone else does. I just didn't get super invested in it, even though I still did enjoy it. A lot of people call this Disney's best movie, or at least like top 3, and I just don't quite get it. I can kind of see it. I mean, it's really good. It just didn't blow me away. I mean, the animation did. This movie is gorgeous. Maybe the best looking 2D animated film of all time. And yes, I do think the romance was genuinely really good. Anyone who says this is Stockholm Syndrome needs to get a life, loser. But that doesn't mean I was super engaged with it. I don't know, just not that many romances in movies have actually gotten me super engaged. Some have, but this is one where I could look at it and say, this is really well written. I just didn't find it super engaging. I mean, I like Gaston, the villain, a lot. I thought he was pretty funny, but he doesn't have that much screen time, which, to be fair, does work. I think he's in the movie as long as he needed to be. I mean, I liked all the songs, especially Gaston's, but none of them stuck with me. Like, compared to other Disney songs, just, they aren't nearly as good in my opinion. Be Our Guest was probably the weakest. I really don't understand the hype with that one. But here's the thing. I can't really think of any issues I have with Beauty and the Beast. It just isn't for me. I mean, I still really liked it, so I guess it is for me, but it's not the kind of film where I can look at it and say, this is a masterpiece. A solid 8 out of 10, a really good movie, but just, this is never going to be my favorite. Number 9, Tangled. I first watched this movie last year on an airplane. I liked it, but an airplane is not exactly the best. On an airplane is not exactly the best way to watch a movie. So I rewatched it about a month ago, and I thought it was much better. Let's start with the animation. This is the first Disney movie to be of Pixar quality in the visual department, even though it's not top tier. It still looks really good, though. I enjoyed the songs a lot more than in Beauty and the Beast. I'm pretty sure this is also Alan Menken's final Disney film, so nice to know he went out with a high note. And yeah, none of the songs are my favorites, but they're all still really good, I thought. I mean, I See the Light is probably one of the best Disney songs, though. I really love that one. Honestly, it might be my favorite love song in any of these Disney movies. Speaking of that, Rapunzel and Flynn is probably the only Disney romance I got really invested in. I'm pretty sure the whole movie takes place over the course of a day. I mean, not counting the flashback in the beginning, because duh. But the relationship really doesn't feel rushed at all. I really did get invested in it on rewatch. This is also just a funny movie. I just laughed a decent amount here. At least got a lot of chuckles anyway. It's also got a good villain. Yeah, Gothel's a bit derivative of Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, but I think she's different enough. I mean, I do like how it's portrayed that even though she is definitely the villain at the end, she turns on Rapunzel. You can see that maybe she really did grow to care for her as a daughter, even though when it comes to when she had to choose between being a mother and being a villain, she said, yeah, I'm going to be a villain. This is just really good and was definitely a strong start for Disney in the 2010s. Really, the year 2010 is just when animation peaked. I mean, we got How to Train Your Dragon, Megamind, Toy Story 3, Shrek Forever After, Despicable Me, this. On TV, we had a regular show, Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Transformers Prime. We were just winning in 2010. Hmm. And if not for this being animated in 3D, it really would feel straight out of the Disney Renaissance, which is definitely a good sign of quality. I mean, I think this actually was supposed to be animated in 2D. Huh. Number 8, Wreck-It Ralph. Ah yes, the Pixar of Disney films. And when I say that, I really do mean it. I know this has been pointed out before, but I gotta say it. The year Disney's release in 2012 was a movie about a secret world in the vein of Toy Story, Monsters Inc., or Inside Out. Pixar's release in 2012 was a terrible princess movie. That is just... How does that happen? Although, I can't call this a masterpiece like most people, but yeah, it's still really good. Um, I like, I mean, no, I gotta mention this, back to the Pixar thing. The Pixar Brain Trust is credited with a special thanks in this. It's not like all Disney movies from this era have that, just Wreck-It Ralph. And at the time, I believe that would include John Lasseter, Pete Docter, Andrew Stanton, Lee Unkrich. Like, those are some heavy hitter classic Pixar people. No wonder this movie turned out as well as it did. But even though I don't love it, I still gotta admit it's really good. I mean, the best thing about the Wreck-It Ralph is Ralph himself, who is just one of the best characters in any Disney movie. His design and just the whole way the movie establishes him. The whole beginning just does a really good job establishing how this video game world works and the different characters in it, and it just really gets you to feel for Ralph, especially in the beginning. Even though this is the second time I watched this movie, when you get to the ending where Ralph is gonna sacrifice himself and he says, "I am a bad guy. I will never be a good guy, and that's not bad. There's no one I'd rather be than me." That hits really hard. So does the whole final line of the film where he says, "That little kid likes me. How bad can I be?" I did cry there, okay? Like most people do. Also, yeah, King Candy is a great villain. He works super well as a genuine threat to the Ralph and Vanellope, I guess. I just like the contrast between how he looks for most of the film, where he's a villain, sure, but he has this cartoony voice and design. But then his final boss design at the end is genuinely pretty menacing and creepy. And he says all these awful lines with this same the same goofy voice, but with this creepy design. It genuinely sells him as a threat, and also, yeah, creepy. Like he says, "Let's watch her die together." It's like watching the Joker or something. And yeah, the twist that he was Turbo is brilliant. I really wish I didn't know that before watching the movie. Although I may never even watched it if not for knowing that twist. Or at least, the first time I heard people talk about this movie was because of the twist, so, yeah. And aside from the main characters, because I didn't mention Vanellope, yeah, I thought she had a good character arc. The side characters are just also pretty entertaining. Felix is really funny. I like how Calhoun is portrayed as being super serious, because she's from one of those, in modern arcades, you see those hyper-realistic Call of Duty, Halo-esque games. That's what she's supposed to be from, and I just found that to be really funny, because it's portrayed so accurately. What holds me back from calling this a masterpiece is, again, it feels pretty long. That's something Disney struggles with a lot, actually. A lot of their movies have a bit weak pacing. But still, a really strong movie, and I think it totally deserves all the acclaim it gets. Number 7, Lilo and Stitch. This was Chris Sanders and Dean whatever, their first film. And somehow these guys made something this good on their first try. I mean, Chris Sanders did co-write Mulan before, but Dean DeBoll literally had no writing or directing experience. Maybe he directed some shorts or something, but the two of them were being tasked with a full Disney movie, and they came out swinging. Yeah, when compared to the other films of these guys, How to Train Your Dragon, its two sequels, The Wild Robot, yeah, I think those were much better. But I still really like Lilo and Stitch. How they were able to blend together a story about a family drama with an alien sci-fi plot is just incredible. I think both sides would have worked fairly well as independent films, but they come together to make something really special. No, I don't love this movie, but I mean, it's got Kevin Michael Richardson in it, so that makes it amazing. Which no, it doesn't, but it does get points for me. He was in the Super Mario movie, by the way. What else? I think Stitch just does not get enough credit for being such a well-developed character. Yeah, he's funny, he's cute, he has some nice moments, but like, rewatching the scene where he tries to find his family after reading the Ugly Duckling story, that was just really sad. Especially since before you get to hear Jumba commenting on him, saying how now that he has fulfilled his destructive tendencies, he may be trying to evolve past that point, but can he? I just the scene at the end where he says, "This is my family. It's little, broken, but still good. Yeah, still good." Like, this is a really, really good scene because the movie really earns that. I also just always get a good laugh from Jumba and Please dynamic. I always love those comedy duos in these movies. And Lilo is one of the best kid characters in any animated movie. Those kinds of characters can either be really annoying or really boring, but no, this movie definitely didn't do that. Lilo and Nani were just really funny to watch, but yeah, their story is sad. Overall, a really good time, even if not a truly great one. I definitely do get the hype, even if I don't quite buy into it. Number 6, Hercules. This is just a really fun movie. It has such a unique but cool art style. There are just no other Disney movies that look like this. I gotta give a ton of credit to the art directors and animators for pulling this off. I mean, it's got the great art style, great songs, endearing characters, a fantastic villain, and some pretty good emotional moments, which I'll just start with that part. When it comes to all the more serious character stuff in this movie, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Just a bit. I mean, I really like the happy ending Hercules gets. It does feel earned. I like his dynamic with Phil and Meg, although I gotta say that, well, the romance is with Meg is good. It isn't great, and overall, Hercules' introduction, like the character, not the movie itself, the introduction of his character is kind of weak. I mean, I do get a good sense as to why he's ostracized when he's young, but it's just so fast. We get this one scene where people in town think he's a freak, which is a good scene. And then he's saying, "Oh gosh, mom and dad, I don't get why people hate me so much. What's with me?" And they tell him, "Well, son, we found this medal on you," and yada yada. And then he's saying, "Oh my gosh, that's from Mount Olympus or whatever. I should go to the Temple of the Gods." And then he immediately goes there after singing an admittedly really great song. And then he meets Zeus, who tells him, "Yeah, I'm your dad, like Jor-El in Superman the movie," which, yeah, I recently rewatched Superman the movie, and I gotta say, I really liked the references to it here, but yeah, we get such a rushed introduction, but after the introduction to Hercules' character, the movie really picks up. I gotta say. I mean, yeah, Phil's introduction is a bit rushed as well. He starts singing about how he's not going to train Hercules, and then he gets zapped with lightning and says, "Okay, I'll train Hercules." And can I just say that Danny DeVito cannot sing? But I mean, the movie does a good job developing the character he's playing. I mean, obviously, he's never going to reach the levels of hilarity that are um, the character of Louis De Palma from Taxi, which is Danny DeVito's best role. Definitely wouldn't argue with that. He's great whatever he's in. But I do think the star of the show is still Hercules himself, because like I said, once he does get his introduction, all that stuff is out of the way, his character really does pick up. I just like seeing his whole story of going from zero to hero and all that. It's good. Anything else? Hades, of course, you gotta talk about Hades. Just one of the best Disney villains ever. He's hilarious, menacing, and just really well animated. The whole effect where his hair is on fire and it goes from blue to red whenever he gets mad, and just the way he moves, it's really impressive animation. And his henchmen are really funny. Yeah, it's a bit weird for the Lord of the Underworld to have such pathetic henchmen, but they were funny, I gotta admit. I have a scene where Hades yells at them, "So, the guy who's prophesized to ruin my plans I've been building for 18 years has become super popular, and you are wearing his merchandise?" I know, I just it's probably the funniest part of the movie to me. And yeah, I love the songs. Go the Distance is probably my favorite I Want song ever. It's just funny to me that the people who made this movie, John Musker and Ron Clements, didn't even want to make this. They made it on an agreement that if they did this, they could make their passion project, which I'll get to later. But you can see that even though they didn't want to make this still turned out really well. Although I guess knowing why makes sense, they probably thought, okay, if we can't make our passion project unless we make this, we better do a really good job with this, and they did. So yeah, Hercules, really good. I think the best 8 out of 10 Disney did. If we're talking an out of 100 score, it'd probably be an 88. Okay, number 5 is... Okay, the top 5 is basically the same from the last video, except it's a bit moved around and there's one new movie here. Number 5, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Yes, this is the first 9 out of 10 on my list. You're probably going to call me nostalgia blinded, and I mean, yeah, I do have a lot of nostalgia for this, but this is just a really funny and charming movie. Every segment is just really fun, and I like them. I mean, the animation and voice acting is really good. It's pretty memorable, I'd say. I gotta say the best segment is where Pooh gets stuck in a hole because he's too fat. That's just exactly my type of humor where it's something it's kind of sad when you think about it, but it just played so ridiculously. And this isn't a complex movie, but it's my list. I can do what I want with it. I think this is a great movie, and I'm going to keep it here at number 5. Number 4, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I already did a whole video on this movie recently, so you can just watch that for more details. But in short, I love this movie. It never fails to blow me away. I mean, just the opening song, The Bells of Notre Dame, is phenomenal. Best opening song to any musical ever. All the other songs, too, are great. Out There is a really great I Want song. The way the songs Heaven's Light and Hellfire are contrasted is great. I like the reprisal of The Bells of Notre Dame at the end. God Help the Outcast is a good song. I like the Gypsy songs a bit. Just the regular soundtrack in general is amazing. So yeah, great songs, great music, amazing animation. The movie manages to be really mature and take itself seriously while still being funny at the same time. And it has the best villain in Disney history, and one of the best protagonists. Quasimodo and Frollo are just great. It's probably the best hero-villain dynamic in any Disney movie because of the way it's established that Frollo kind of raised Quasimodo, but I mean, he doesn't tell Quasimodo that, yeah, I raised you because if I didn't, I was told by a priest that God would kill me. Yeah. I mean, it's just really interesting to see the dynamic between the two characters where Quasimodo sees Frollo as a father figure of sorts, while at the same time Frollo is singing to him, "You are deformed, and you are ugly," and Quasimodo sings, "I am deformed, and I am ugly." Just like, if this guy really cares about you, he wouldn't be telling you that, although, to be fair, he is pretty ugly, but yeah. Also, I just want to commend this movie's message for not being so heavy-handed and annoying, like Zootopia or something. The message isn't about, which, yeah, I haven't seen Zootopia and it's not on this list. Spoilers, not really, but I gotta say, one of the biggest reasons I haven't watched that movie is because the racism metaphor just looks really heavy-handed. I prefer the message of this movie about tolerance, where the message is that people just fear what they don't know, and hey, if I saw Quasimodo in real life, I'd probably be pretty terrified too. And, you know, there is one problem with this movie. You guessed it, the gargoyles. I don't even hate them the way other people do. I think they have some decent scenes. The problem is just that there are 3 of them. 2 of them are actually pretty good. The third one is just kind of annoying. And the idea of them being in Quasimodo's head isn't fully fleshed out as well as it could have been, and I think the only time this movie has serious tonal issues is their song. Not just because it's a bad song, because of where it's placed. Paris has literally been set on fire by Frollo, and these guys just start doing a dumb comedy routine, and then all 3 of them start singing an awful song. Just, yeah. This is the overall, though, I still really love The Hunchback of Notre Dame. If not for the gargoyles being mishandled, this really would be a 10 out of 10 for me, honestly. Just people say that to shame Disney will never make a movie like this ever again, but not only am I not surprised by it, not only do I get they'd never make something like this again, I'm not really mad. I feel like it's just the kind of thing that happens once in a lifetime, and it's just cool to see it happen in that one time. You can't catch lightning in a bottle twice. This is the kind of thing you just can't replicate. You can copy it, but it doesn't mean it's going to turn out well. Now we're moving on to the 10 out of 10s. The Lion King is amazing. Like, do I even need to say that? I recently rewatched this and reviewed it on my Letterboxd, like in the description, plug, and I gave it a 9 out of 10. When I watched it for the first time last year and reviewed it, I said that this would be an 8 out of 10, but I'm giving it a 9 because the climax is so good. I also said, though, the more I thought about the movie, the better it got. And yeah, I gotta say, upon this rewatch, I was really close to giving it a 10, but I just quite couldn't. But you might be wondering, well, why are you giving it a 10 out of 10 now? Literally my only problem with it before was that the romance was kind of rushed, but even then, I just can't hate it because it doesn't take up that much time. It's not annoying. We get a good song out of it, and it does have some setup. It shows that, oh, Simba and Nala didn't just instantly fall in love, even though they kinda did. It says they knew each other when they were younger and were friends and all that, so it does have some setup. It's never gonna not feel a little rushed. But yeah, this movie is amazing. I totally understand why The Lion King is as beloved as it is. The animation is breathtaking and rivals Beauty and the Beast is probably the best looking 2D animated film of all time. It doesn't have my favorite songs, but each one is still really good. The Morning Report, because yeah, I've only watched the special edition of The Lion King. That's a fun song. I Just Can't Wait to Be King is a good I Want song. Be Prepared is a great villain song. Can You Feel the Love Tonight is good. Although I gotta say the version in the credits is way better. The version in the movie is just simply good. The credits version, great. Other songs. And of course, you gotta mention The Circle of Life and Hakuna Matata, which are the best ones. Circle of Life is just a really great opener, and Hakuna Matata is probably my favorite. It's really energetic and fun and catchy. How could you not love it? I mean, no worries, right? The story of this movie is just perfectly paced. Every single scene contributes to this overarching plot in some way. There's absolutely zero wasted time. Simba, while not the best Disney protagonist ever, is still a good lead. Mufasa is great, and his death scene is practically perfect. Is it as good as Stoic's death from How to Train Your Dragon 2? No, but Mufasa's death ran so Stoic's death could speed run, whatever dumb metaphor. And let's not forget Timon and Pumbaa. I mean, these guys are the perfect example of how you do a comic relief duo. They're actually an integral part of Simba's character arc, and they don't interfere with the dramatic stuff, and they're also just really funny. Like I said before, my only issue is the romance, which I don't even think is that big an issue, so yeah, The Lion King is definitely a masterpiece and well deserving of a perfect score. Number 2, Aladdin. The best of the Disney Renaissance, in my opinion. I'd say it's pretty close between this and The Lion King, but I like Aladdin just a bit more. The animation isn't quite as good as Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Hunchback. I mean, you can tell that they probably spent most of Disney's animators are probably focused on those films, but this still looks really good. And also, yeah, Jafar isn't quite as good a villain as Scar, but he's still great. All the characters are great. I love all the songs. The movie's just really funny. Not just Robin Williams as the genie, who is really funny, obviously, but just it's a really fun movie in general. It still manages to have some really strong dramatic and emotional stuff. The climax is amazing. Probably the best part of the whole film. But if you ask me what my favorite songs are, it'd be the two genie songs. So Friend Like Me and Prince Ali. I did review this movie last year, and you should check out my review. So yeah, amazing movie. Really like it, and during my last Disney ranking, I did say this was my favorite. But upon watching one other film a little bit afterwards, there's one Disney movie I like just a little bit more. And it just so happens it's also written and directed by John Musker and Ron Clements. Guys, number one pick is Treasure Planet. Treasure Planet is amazing. I know there are a lot of people who love this movie as it's become a cult classic, but there are definitely people who would. But you're going to be hard pressed to even find those people who are going to say, yeah, this is the best Disney movie ever. Maybe say top 5, number 1? Well, I'm going to say it. And to all those people who say that it's just a 6 out of 10 or a 7 out of 10, I'm sorry I gotta disagree with you guys. This deserved way more acclaim when it came out than it got. So yeah, starting off with what's actually in the movie, Jim is probably my favorite Disney protagonist. Maybe Quasimodo, I don't know. Just like much like with the best ones, his story is just really well established in the beginning. We get a perfect understanding of his character, his relationship with his friend Gilbert and his mother, and with how he's this troubled teen who's just things aren't going well for him. We hear a bit about his father, which we learn more about later, about how his father just ran away one day, which of course sets up a bit of his character arc. And just watching him progress throughout the film, seeing him become smarter and able to do things by himself, it just does a really good job getting me invested in his character. When he gets that happy ending, yeah, that really worked for me. I mean, the scene at the end where he saves everyone from Treasure Planet blowing up is just awesome. And of course, the animation is amazing. It's a really great blend of 2D and 3D. This is apparently the most expensive 2D animated film in history, and I can definitely see why it was. I also did like the supporting characters. There are a lot of people who say that, yeah, this movie would be better if the supporting characters were better, but, well, they aren't great. I still like them. I found Dilbert to be funny. I like the captain well enough, and I can understand if people think the robot, voiced by Martin Short, was a little annoying, but I like Martin Short, and while I do agree he was a little overbearing, I never found him super annoying. I still got some laughs out of him. And it's not like the filmmakers just created him out of nowhere. He is based on an actual character from the Treasure Planet book. If they're gonna take, okay, yeah, they were whatever. But of course, the real star of this movie is John Silver. Even the people who say this is nothing more than a 6 out of 10 will say John Silver was too good for this movie. And he's the best part. It's just watching his whole character arc unfold. How I like just that the beginning of the movie establishes us that yeah, this guy is the villain. We don't have to waste time with some kind of twist or whatever, but because it gets the twist out of the way, it really gives us a good reason to care about his character, about how Jim is forced to be his apprentice basically, and after spending so much time together, he starts to care for Jim like a son. Like when he stops him from getting into a fight with that Scroop guy, who is the real villain of the movie, really, you could say. Since he is just that guy, that spider alien guy, he is just straight up evil. Like, zero redeeming qualities. Unlike John Silver, who gets a redemption arc. Because, yeah, the scene where John Silver tells Jim, "Didn't your father ever teach you who to pick your fights with?" And Jim just stands there and doesn't even look at him, and he says, "Aye, not the teaching type, eh?" And Jim finally responds with, more like the running away and never coming back type. And Silver gives him this really good speech about how, listen to me, Jim Hawkins, you got the makings of greatness in ya, and how he's gonna see the light. You gotta chart your own course and take the helm and all that stuff, which is just really good. It's cheesy, but really good. We get the whole montage of them getting closer until eventually Jim finds out that John Silver is secretly planning a mutiny. But John Silver's crew is telling him, I think you're getting to care about that boy too much. You're becoming soft. But John Silver's insisting to them, no, you're wrong. I'm just trying. It's just a ruse. And he threatens one of them just to show that he's still tough on them. And Jim sees this hiding in the barrel, which tells him, oh my gosh, this guy is gonna betray me. And then of course all of the characters get stuck on Treasure Planet itself, and we get the really great scene where John Silver's trying to tell Jim, I really do care about you, boy. Maybe you can work for me and we can get some of the treasure together. And Jim says no, he's never going to do that. And then Silver says, that's my treasure. And he says, well, I don't care about your stupid treasure, by thunder, or whatever. It's just fun the way that scene was delivered to be really funny, but also really emotional. Because, yeah, you did see the two of them become like a father and a son, so seeing them yell at each other is pretty sad. But then you get to the scene where Jim discovers where the treasure is hidden, and you can see that Silver's thinking, smart kid. And he's genuinely proud of him because, even as he says, I like you, lad, but I can't let you get in the way of me and me treasure. He did genuinely grow to care for Jim, even though he still wants his treasure at the end of the day. But when push comes to shove and he has to choose between the treasure or Jim, he saves Jim's life. And while Jim could take Silver to the cops, I guess, and have him arrested because he is a criminal, after seeing Silver have that change of heart, give up the treasure, and be really kind to him, he decides, you know what, I'm going to let you go. because he could just never do that to him. And Silver shows that he even saved some of the treasure from Treasure Planet and gives it to Jim to help his family. And the movie ends on just such a really great note. I love Treasure Planet. So in conclusion, what's next for Disney? If you've seen my community page, you might notice that I might actually watch Zootopia 2. I didn't even watch the original, as you can clearly tell by this list, but after watching the trailer for the sequel, I might watch it, at least when it comes to Disney Plus anyway. It looks like a fun buddy cop movie, which is what I'd want out of something like this. Here's to hoping it doesn't have a terrible, heavy-handed metaphor. So, in conclusion about Disney as a whole, though, what do I think of them as a studio? I think I have a lot more respect for Disney than I do have a genuine love for a lot of their movies, because I do really like a lot of their movies. I genuinely loved some of them. I called a couple of them masterpieces, but despite being around for so long, when compared to DreamWorks and Pixar, I just don't like them as much. And they have more movies than those two studios. And yeah, for as much as we complain about Disney as a studio and a brand, because yeah, we're talking about, what they did to Star Wars and Marvel. Yeah, we hate that. We've talked about that a million times. But Disney, the animation studio, despite its flaws, is still a good studio, and I really hope it actually makes a good movie again, because it hasn't really made anything of quality since Moana or arguably Encanto. That's all for now, and remember to stay way past cool.